austatud konverentsil osalejad. Tere tulemast 29. Balti Teedeliidu konverentsile.
Dargie draugi, kolēģi, esiet sveicināti 29. Baltijas ceļnieku konferencē.
Garbūs svečiai, sveikinu atvykus į 29. Baltijos kelininkų konferenciją.
Welcome to 29th International Baltic Road Conference. Mr. Prime Minister of Republic of Estonia, conference participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to declare the 29th International Baltic Road Conference open. For 2 months now, Estonia has had a very responsible role in Europe, holding the presidency of the Council of the European Union. The Estonian Road Administration has had a very responsible role of chairmanship in the Baltic Road Association for the past 4 years. I hope we have carried out our role well, and the peak of our joint work is the 29th International Baltic Road Conference, which is about to begin. I wish all more than 600 participants from 34 countries interesting and informative presentations, inspiring and meaningful meetings in the discussion groups, and fruitful time when you communicate with each other and discuss how we can successful in developing the road sector in the coming years. Let's take a close look at everything at the exhibition. Let's look with interest both the machines of the past and the future ideas and technologies. I wish all of us a successful conference. Thank you. Dear conference participants, now I ask Prime Minister of the Republic of Estonia to the stage for a welcoming address. Please, Mr. Jüri Ratas.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to open the 29th International Baltic Road Conference. I am very glad that all the roads have brought you to Tallinn this time. I warmly welcome you all in Estonia and our capital. The long history of this conference shows how significant it is to the industry. I also want to thank the Estonian Road Administration and the Baltic Road Association for their good work organizing this important event. It is always a pleasure to welcome so many people from different countries. This year is exceptionally for Estonia. It is a very busy and interesting year for us. The most important event is our presidency of the Council of the European Union, which runs throughout the second half of the year. Our capital city, Tallinn, has become the epicenter of the EU decision-making. We have four main priorities, which includes, first, an open and innovative European economy. The second one is the safe and secure Europe. The third is a digital Europe and the free movement of data. And the fourth one is inclusive and sustainable Europe. All these four areas are close to our heart. But let me focus more digital Europe, because Estonia has been building our digital society for almost 20 years. In Estonia, we have built an environment that all X roads allowing very digital lifestyle that is easy, fast and efficient. This is widely used by citizens and businesses alike. Zero bureaucracy is not the science fiction, but technology-wise, rather today's reality. We just need to implement it. Our messages to the world is that building the road to digital society pays off fast. That is why we speak about digitalization, digital single market, and the free movement of data in Europe. You know much better than me that roads are not always straight. This holds also for the road to success in digitalization. We need to ensure the security of the free flow of data and enhance users' trust in e-services. In 2017, we will work hard, but the road will take us to a happy 2018. Next year we celebrate because 100 years will pass from the proclamation of Estonia as an independent democratic republic. Century is one of the most important and greatest milestones in our history, with great meaning for us all. The Estonia 100 festivities have already started, and you all are very invited to celebrate Estonia heritage and our culture. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we live in a very competitive global economy. Today, a lot more countries have integrated into the global economy than some time ago. Countries are part of the global supply chains, enhancing each other's competitiveness. From that perspective, a well-developed multimodal transportation system of the whole region is a cornerstone of competitiveness. We need digital connectivity, but it will never compensate for the absence of efficient physical connectivity. That is why the topics which will be discussed in this conference are highly relevant. People across the world have reaped so many gains for openness and mobility. Countries need to become even more interconnected via well-developed infrastructure, via flow of people, goods and services. Protectionism is a road to nowhere. This is why Estonia gives high priority of the Rail Baltic project, which is expected to be finalized in 2022. It will take us closer to 5 million European Union customers. Also, our government has committed to invest extra 150 35 million euros in transport infrastructure from 2018 until 2020. That is 0.6% of our GDP. More than half will be spent on roads. 44 million will go to construction on Tallinn-Pärnu highway, because we need to move forward with the Via Baltic project as well. On your road to the conference venue, you might have seen some traffic on the sea. Millions of people traveled between Finland and Estonia per year. I will meet the Hyperloop One executives in USA this week to discuss whether the technology could be exploited one day to connect Finland and Estonia. It is important to remain innovative and take use of modern technologies. The means of transport will be very different in 10 years of technological advancements. Your agenda includes, among other topics, intelligent transport system and smart road solutions. I very much support you in looking for the new avenues. With these remarks, I wish you a successful and very fruitful conference, lots of and off-road thinking about innovative ideas. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, daamid ja härrad, tervist, tere tulemast. It is my pleasure to say welcome as well. My name is Hannes Hermaküla and I will be the moderator. We have had several words of greetings already and we will have some more, so I'm going to be really short. I'll give you some information about the day and then we will carry on. But first, everybody's a bit serious. It's like Estonians. Why don't you turn to the person next to you and say tere, which means hello in Estonian. Right, then now turn to another person and say, I'm sure glad you made it today. The back rows are kind of slow. The front is actually working here, but looks like the backs are from the Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian. Anyway, we have actually, in addition to 600 people in here, we have altogether 800 people in the exhibition. In about an hour, 10:15 or so, we're gonna have the first coffee break, which would be over there, and then you can see all the exhibitions and all the rest of the people as well. Quite impressive, 34 countries are represented in here, and we're gonna have quite tight schedule. We're gonna have several speakers, so therefore we do probably have no time for the questions and answers, but the coffee breaks are good for that. So we do encourage you to communicate, to ask the questions, during the coffee breaks. Now I have, after the first session here, I have the coffee break, then we have another plenary session, and then after that we're going to have the lunch. Actually, you do have the schedule if you look at the back side of the little card. I'm not sure how you call it. There is a schedule back here so you can follow, but before the lunch I will be announcing which room the different sessions are as well. Then, since we have parallel sessions, we do have a signature, a musical signature, and if you hear that, then you know you have to move on. So I hope we can play the King of the Road at the moment. And you can dance, actually, if you want to.
King of the road.
Right. Anyway, we're going to move on now. Well, I can say thank God for the technology. We have the next greeting, the next speech going to be a video greeting. And Mr. Henrik Hololei was not able to join us. He's not here, but he did send the video greeting. So the next one will be by Mr. Henrik Hololei, who's Director General for Mobility and Transport of European Commission. Here we go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to address this, the 29th edition of the International Baltic Road Conference. It's especially wonderful to have you here in Tallinn, my home city, during this Estonian EU presidency. I regret not being there in person due to my obligations in Brussels, but I'm sure you will have an interesting conference, rich in substance, with lively discussions. I'm sure that we all agree that road transport is an important enabler in our economy and in our societies. No doubt, the other transport modes, be it rail, sea, and aviation, they play an important role in the transport system. But the fact remains that road carries more freight and more passengers than all other modes combined, and provides jobs for 10.6 million people in Europe. Although the road transport sector plays a critical role, there is always room for improvement. You are going to discuss and debate some of those areas of potential improvements during this conference. It's crucial we come together to share experiences and identify also new solutions. You are playing your part with lots of expertise. But what is the EU doing to improve our road transport sector? Earlier this year, we put forward the first part of a series of measures known as the mobility package. The package has a number of cornerstones, so let me just mention a few. The first is to ensure that there is fair competition in the sector, so that those who play by the rules are not the ones who are punished and penalized. We intend to put an end to letterbox companies which are only established to exploit loopholes, and we want to bring about clarity and fairness to the issue of cabotage so that we can enforce the rules, but also reduce the number of empty runs. The second cornerstone focuses on the issue of emissions and sustainability. Clear price signals to users will ensure that the EU's long-established polluter pays principle is further reinforced. We won't be telling states they have to charge. Rather, we are facilitating those states that do wish to use road charging as a way to optimize their road infrastructure so long as the change is distance-based, not time-based. Third cornerstones involves embracing digital technology. This goes hand in hand with the fairness cornerstone I just mentioned. The widespread use of e-documents in all states will cut red tape for drivers and small hauliers. E-tolling will improve the flow of traffic and also reduce administration cost. We want to accelerate the deployment of the digital tachograph, and we want a better exchange of information between states through common administration-to-administration databases. This will tackle those operations who do not play by the rules. In addition to the package, the issue of funding is also of vital importance. Although the Connecting Europe facility had a budget of 24 billion euros, this falls way short of the estimated 740 billion required to complete the trans-European network. Therefore, new and innovative ways of financing the maintenance and development of road infrastructure is absolutely essential. In recent times, blending of public and private finances has worked well under programs such as the European Fund for Strategic Investments. The task now is to build on this so that we can use public funding to leverage funding from a variety of different sources. I'd also like to underline our firm commitment to tackle the challenges of road safety. Every year, more than 26,000 people die on European roads, and in addition to that, many more are seriously injured. We need to step up our efforts to reduce the number. Too many lives are lost, and these deaths could be avoided. So the issue of road safety is something we never take our eyes off, and we count also on your support here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm confident that if we work together and listen to and learn from each other, we will be able to develop a competitive and sustainable road sector that continues to deliver for Europe and her people for many more years to come. I thank you for listening to me, and I wish you a successful conference. All the very best.
We're going to move right on. All the next of the speakers are actually here present, and the next presentation or the speech will be by the President of the World Road Association, Mr. Claude Van Rooten, if you would please.
I come from a small country and I'm small. Mr. Prime Minister, unfortunately you had to leave. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, and allow me to say dear friends. It was a tremendous pleasure that I address a few words to you at the outset of this Congress. This is in fact, I'm sorry for that, my very first visit to the Estonian capital, but a tremendous occasion. And I'm using this opportunity to discover the beauty of Tallinn and of the drinks and the food yesterday evening. Also, to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time a sitting or standing president of the World Road Association actually attends the event. My presence in Tallinn is therefore an overwhelming positive response to the objectives proposed to participants by the Director General of Estonia's Roads Directorate, Priit Soog, current President of the Baltic Road Association, who urged us 3 points: to strengthen our professional network, in addition to meeting old friends. I mean, old friends doesn't mean you are old, and making new ones. Well, I come back on those 3 points, if you allow me. Reconnecting with old friends applies to individuals as well as associations. As an old hand in European organizations, whether we are talking about FURL or CEDA, alongside our friend Steve Phillips in each case, I have known many of you for quite a while. As such, I have been able to appreciate and admire the seriousness and quality of your dedication to bettering the roads of your respective countries from the time of their independence under such difficult conditions. What progress you have accomplished over these nearly 30 years, and you have every right to feel proud. As a committed European, I am pleased to point out how these advances have been achieved in close collaboration with nearby neighbors in Scandinavia and in the European Union. In the same vein, it was at the time of celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Swedish Road Administration in Borlänge back in 1991 that you 3 countries re-engaged with the World Road Association. in renewing ties that had been severed due to the unfortunate circumstances of a tragic 20th century. And I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Lena Eriksson, Director General of the Swedish Transport Administration and member of our Executive Committee. PIAC's Secretary General at that time, Bernard Fauveau, used the occasion to meet with your respective directors, Gintaras Triokas for Lithuania, Olafs Kronlaks for Latvia, and Juri Rima for Estonia. And I heard Mr. Rima is here in the room. I want to see him afterwards, if I may. To each of whom I express my warmest wishes. From then on, you quickly resumed your role within the association, with Estonia leading the way, as its PIAC membership, yes, dates back to 1923, followed by Lithuania in 1930. And all three countries were present in our World Congress in 1934 in Munich. The second objective proposed, namely making new friends, has by and large been achieved, or by a very good begin, yesterday evening. With a seaplane hangar is not a typical venue for a gathering of road experts. It underscores the strength of our bonds through discovering, even after many years of professional practice, other facets of the world of transportation, exposing renewed intensiveness over the ages. And as the third objective, consolidating its professional network, such has been the association's ambition since its inception at the 1908 Paris Congress. You've addressed this initiative on your terms with the inauguration of your own congresses in 1932, and you contribute to PIAC's progress through the efforts of nearly 20 experts participating in both our technical committees and governing bodies. And here I'm thinking of our dear friend Martin Dambax, the Baltic Road Association delegate to our executive committee. PIAC has benefited this network via its congresses, seminars, and technical committees, one of which, terminology, chaired by a Belgian colleague, is being held at the same time right here in Tallinn. The association's work, divided into 5 strategic teams, encompasses all topics involving roads: management and finance, access and mobility, road safety, infrastructure. In our new 2016-2019 strategic plan, whose implementation I have the honor of overseeing, added the 5th team, namely climate change and the environment, to these 4 standard ones, thereby taking into consideration the challenges now facing all disciplines, which were already complicated enough. Thanks to the association's 121 member countries, our activities have access to the input of 1,000 volunteer experts of extremely high caliber, stemming from very diverse geographic, economic, and cultural backgrounds. Their extensive research findings have been made available free of charge. I insist, that has been a decision when I was chair of the Commission on Communication 10 years ago. I suggest you to get acquainted and reacquainted with. You will find many of those reports, as well as our recent electronic manuals dedicated to tunnels, highway operations, road safety, and soon, I went for the launching of that, road asset management. You can also learn more about PIAC by visiting our stand during break time, hosted in the exhibition space along with our Polish colleagues, and you will know why. It will actually be on the banks of the Baltic Sea in Gdansk, less than 700 kilometers from here, as the crow flies, where from February the 20th to February the 23rd of 2018, there will be an event that's bound to every single one of you, our 15th International Winter Road Congress, focusing on topics of great importance for Nordic countries like you all. Given the geographic proximity and shared interests, I see really no reason, why you would not attend. And if by fate snowbound roads prevented you, that would provide additional incentive to overcome the obstacle and make your way there. So I look forward to meeting you in Gdansk in a few months, and also suggest you mark in your diaries as of now the 26th World Road Congress to take place in Abu Dhabi, October the 6th to the 10th, 2019, I have to admit, under quite different skies and climate. But this is no time to dwell on Baltic snow or Arabian sun when there is work to do. Once again, let me thank my friend Pritzog and his colleague Ulvi Poly for being such outstanding hosts and organizing this event, where I feel really fantastic, which showcases 4 years of Estonia presiding over the Baltic Road Association. I'd also like to wish the very best to our Latvian colleagues asked to carry the torch for the next 4 years, and to all of you for a successful conference. And now I take a big risk. Tenan tehele panu est. And as far as I know, you are 3 countries, so let me try. Paldies par jūsu uzmanību. And the last one is even more difficult. I apologize for the deficient pronunciation. Ačiū už dėmesį. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claude van Rooten. We have learned some, in addition to some more Estonian, we have learned some Latvian and Lithuanian as well now. So I do believe that you all got that. We're going to move right along. The next speech going to be by the Secretary General of the Conference of European Directions of Roads, or CEDR, Mr. Steve Phillips, if you would please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for your speech. Good morning, Mr. Haulalai by video. Mr. Chairman, Pritzog, what a great event. And Yanis Negidius, I think that was also great. And I guess I can't go away without mentioning Ulvi. Now, I was reminded that it's important to mention all of the important people at a conference by name, and luckily there's a list of 600 of them here. No, you don't want to hear that? Okay, then I'll carry on. Okay, I'm very honoured and very proud to be invited to speak at this event. Not only because it's the Baltic Road Congress, but also because I'm proud to work in the road sector. I think all of us are proud to work in the road sector, aren't we? Who's proud to work in the road sector? Great. That's because I think we live in a world, and particularly now, maybe, at a time when there's very, very clear differences between 2 types of people. And I think we're in the second type of people. The first type of people, they look at a map, and they look at the lines on a map, and they see boundaries. They see borders, some of them even see walls. We look at lines on maps and we see connections. We see bridges and tunnels connecting nations. Hey, in Estonia, pretty miraculous, they even have roads on water. In the Bible, they talked about walking on water. In Estonian, they drive on water. How cool is that? So there we are. So we are definitely, I think, in that second type of person. That's why I'm proud to be part of this sector. As many of you know, again, there's a lot of people questioning why there are so many organizations at all different levels. I cover my little pin, but I guess you know which side I'm on. Many different, all questioning lots and lots of different organizations. And again, I'm proud that we're here today with PARC, the Nordic Road Association, the Baltic Road Association, and CEDA, showing that there's no problem. In fact, there's a huge benefit from having all of these organizations, because again, what it shows is that we can work at all different levels. We're all making each other stronger. We all provide the family connection. And again, you know, when there's a family, you have the inner family, the outer family. Hey, when you have a party, everyone's together. So it's important that all of the organizations are working together. Now, talking about building nations and walls and things, I thought maybe it was useful to look at the Bible. You think, well, I'm standing at a pulpit, so it's almost like being in church, no? There's hundreds of mentions of roads in the Bible. Unfortunately, Mr. Holalai's not here, so I can't point out there's no railways in the Bible. But anyway. Oh, bit of politics there. But one of my favorites, and I was really happy to see this, one of my favorite phrases from the Bible, and indeed it's from the Old Testament, which means that all of the major religions can recognize this, and I think everyone in the room will recognize this. So it's from 700 BC, almost 3,000 years ago. Think about this, 3,000 years ago, from Isaiah. And it goes, go through the doors, clear the way for the people, build up the highway, clear the stones, lift up a sign for the peoples. Isn't that a great motto for road administrations? For the people, construct, maintain, and focus on customer service. With that, have a great couple of days, and I'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Phillips. The next speech will be coming from Sweden. We have a Director General of Swedish Transportation, Mrs. Lena Eriksson.
I'm a little bit taller, and maybe a bigger country than Belgium also. Prime Minister, even if he has left, and delegates at this conference, ladies and gentlemen, good morning everybody. I also feel very proud and honored to be here today at this important event and to speak as a chair of the Nordic Road Association. Sweden is currently holding the presidency from 2016 to 2020. The cooperation between the Nordic Road Association and the Baltic Road Association is important and I think of interest to all of us. A cooperation that's been going on, as mentioned here before, since 1992 and developed over the time. A base for our cooperation is that good transport connections and effective logistic services are a prerequisite to get competitiveness, and that prosperity and sustainable growth is reliant on well-functioned transport connections. The trends of globalization, digitalization, as mentioned here before, and increasing mobility bring significant challenge to the road transport system, as well as opportunities. To mention just a few of them, we have to deal with road network congestion caused by increasing flows of goods and passengers. Due to the Paris Agreement, we have to reduce the CO2 emission, and that's especially a challenge, I would say, for the road transport sector, as well as other environmental pollution, and of course also to bring down the noise from the road transport sector, which is a health problem. Road accidents. I think everybody here embraced the zero vision, so it's still important to struggle to find ways to bring down fatalities and seriously injured in the road, in our roads. Also, traffic disruption, to get a more robust system is important, both for the business communities as well as passenger traffic. We also have a challenge to meet demand of more mobility in our urban areas, but at the same time, keep up the level of service in our rural areas. We also have to meet a threat, a new threat, from act of terrorism, where the target has been our transport facilities. And we've seen it all over Europe, also in my own country, in Stockholm. That's something also we have to deal with. When we do this, we need to work together. Because these challenges could only be met through common actions. Cooperation is the key. We are definitely better off together. And we need to work in the regional level, as you do in the Baltic states. And I think it's fantastic to see 600 attendants here today. That's something to be proud of. We do that in the Nordic, and we do it together. But we also need to work on the European level, in CEDAR, and in the World Road Association, because together we can meet these challenges and take care of all the opportunities we also see. The Nordic Road Association was founded in Stockholm in 1935, based on this knowledge. Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden were members from the beginning, and the Faroe Islands, which is a part of Denmark but very independent, joined 1975. The Nordic Road Association is an industry collaboration with members from both the public and the private sector, and have around 320 member organizations. And I think that it's really based as an industry collaboration is also part of its success over the time, and why we still find it very fruitful to be active in this collaboration. Our vision is expertise without frontiers. We exchange information, knowledge, experience, and best practice among the Nordic countries. We have 4 strategic themes for our work during this period. To increase the safe and to create a more safe and environmental friendly transport system. We all embrace the zero vision for the road sector, but we also are very committed to the Paris Agreement. That means that transport should have the least possible negative impact for people's health and environment. To increase quality and to resource optimal transports, the infrastructure and transport service shall live up to the society and users' expectation of quality and resource optimization. The life cycle perspective shall lay the ground for the infrastructure. For the future, it's also very important to have a competent and effective organization. The road and transport sector must have access to and maintain relevant competence. Otherwise, we will not be relevant. Definitely if we look in what happened in the road sector with the more of new technology coming in. Organization, utilization of resources, and form of cooperation shall ensure a high level of quality in the result. Last but not least, innovation. Innovation in order to develop the road and transport sector. This applies to a development and application of new technology, forms of organization, collaboration, agreement, founding, and so on. That's why I think it's so very interesting to be here in Estonia and hear about your results when it comes to digitalization, where you have that as a part of keystone, cornerstone in how you look at the future. We have 10 Nordic committees. Each committee work is based on these strategic themes. We also have decided to start what we call hot working groups. By doing that, we can start work on topics that is of common interest and works on a short time basis, 1 or 2 years. Our first topic is turnkey projects. In June this year, we got some pre-results from this work, and it was really interesting. It gave us an opportunity to share knowledge amongst the Nordic countries, and we are more than happy to share that knowledge also with you. The cooperation between the Nordic Road Association and the Baltic Road Association has been going on for many years. It started already in 1992, as I mentioned, with a cooperation agreement. Experience from the last few years show that the basis for the formalized cooperation between us is not needed to the same extent as previously. Therefore, the parties have agreed to continue the cooperation in more informal forms, but it still continue and developed. We have arrangement of joint seminars. Our committees invite each other to these seminars held in English. There are meetings between the boards of the Nordic Road Association and the Baltic Road Association, and meetings between the association secretaries. For example, the Baltic Road secretaries participated at last year's annual meeting in Stockholm, where they were informed about the current work in the different member states. I would like to conclude that the cooperation between the Nordic Road Association and the Baltic Road Association is very important for us. And I think it benefits the both of us. So let's continue that work. If you would like to learn a little bit more about the Nordic Road Association, you're more than welcome to visit our stand here in the exhibition. I would also like to take the opportunity to invite you to Via Nordica 3 years ahead. Our congress will take place in Sweden, in Malmö, 10 to 12 of June 2020. I wish you all interesting and fruitful days here in Tallinn, and all the best for the rest of this conference. Let's continue to work together towards a transport system that is modern, efficient, and sustainable. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lena Eriksson. As we heard, we're going to have an exhibition. It's out there. In a few moments, we will let you go there. There is more than 90 different firms and companies who expose their products and all the ideas and all the kind of other interesting things. Then there is a coffee break also. It's actually within the exhibition, so the reason is you can have a coffee, you can have a little break, and at the same time check out all the exhibition we have there. The exhibition has been opened already. And then also just to remind you that when you hear this song, not the song we're going to hear at the moment, but the song we heard before, King of the Road, with a little Harley in the end, that's a sign for you guys to come back here. We're going to be back here at 11 o'clock sharp. We're going to continue with the presentations. Before I let you go, we're going to have another piece of music, and actually the orchestra, the mini orchestra behind me, it's specially combined for this conference. So it's actually officially the Orchestra of Baltic Road Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are. The coffee break has been started. Go for it.
Bet jūs esat izdomājuši, ko jūs
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We will continue with the conference. We're going to have the plenary session here with many speakers. I trust you had a nice little coffee break. You have to 1 hour and 30 minutes, then you get lunch. I do trust that you'll be fine till then. I have a little note, a side note. Unfortunately, there has been a little printing mistake on the program. I do trust you guys all have the program in your little black bags. And I just want to make sure that everybody are at the same page. The page number actually is number 8, so there is a mistake, a printing mistake on page number 8. We do apologize for that. But just to let you know that there is a session 3-2. And the date here says 28th of August. Actually, the date is tomorrow, 29th of August. Just to make it really clear, I will read some names. I might mispronounce some of these. I'm sorry in advance, but if you hear your name, then you know that your presentation is not today. Your presentation is tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11:15 till 12:45, in between there. The names are Winfried Schramm, Germany. Then we have Michalina Makovsky, Terhi Pellinen, and Wojciech Solovsky from Finland. Then Taavi Tettenborn, Juha Forsman, Peeter Škepats, Artur Elman, Ivo Vallas, Taavi Tõnts ja Karli Kontson. That's Finland and Estonian. And so your presentation will be tomorrow. Then we have Gunta Kikse from Latvia. Then Dr. Klaas Habermel, Dr. Jürgen Vollmann, and Andrus Brück. from Germany and Estonia, and then also from Finland, Lars Forsten. So all the people whose name I just mentioned, your presentation will be tomorrow. On the page 8, do as I did, cross the 29 and write 20, cross the 28 and write 29 there, and then we're absolutely fine. You got it? Give me a little wave if you understood what I just said. Some of you did. Awesome, thank you. Right, we're gonna move right down for the presentation. Here's the clicker, here's the, all the pages. Also, I need to let you know that we tried to have a little time after the presentation for a couple of questions. We do have a couple of wonderful ladies moving around here with the microphone, so if you have a question, just give us a little wave, we'll bring the microphone to you and we'll let you ask the question. We'll see how the time schedule goes. Now we're gonna move right on to the next, or actually to the first presentation. As far as I know, it's something about the flying cars. I'm not quite sure. The presenter will make sure of that. It's Antti Vehviläinen, Director General of Finnish Transport Agency. So Antti Vehviläinen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Ulvi asked me to look for the future. It will not be about flying cars. If you see this title, it's Visions of Road Infra Before Cars Fly. But if we speak about the future, we all know that the prediction of future is very difficult. We in Finland have decided differently. We decided to do the future ourselves. Then it's easier to be inside there. Ladies and gentlemen, if I get this picture changed. Here we have some visions of new infrastructure items which we have to solve because they are so near in our future, in a very near future. So they are things which are before the cars fly. I selected 3 visions which are here: running powers, autonomous vehicles, and platoon driving. There's numerous of those other ones, but I just selected these 3 and concentrating into those ones. This running power development, at the moment there's kind of hype of electric cars and so on, but as we see, electric car mass production was already starting 125 years ago, and hydrogen-driven cars also are from even earlier times. But if we look at the present time, so there the electric cars seem to be winning, but major problem, what they are aiming at the moment, is the independence. Independence, how far they can run. Please notice that in this picture, these figures are in miles. So you have to multiply them by 1.6. It's an American origin picture, and that's why they are in miles. But there's still a major problem, like I said, with this independence. I've got the normal Volvo, and when I'm tanking the diesel, so it shows that 1,200 kilometers driving left. So it's quite much more, 750 miles actually, than what is the running capacity of electric cars. So battery tolerance in cold conditions, battery tolerance in general, let's see how is it. But if we look what the different nations are already doing, there is very high activity between different national authorities, and it looks like that we have to adapt to this development as road managers or professionals very, very soon. And my question is, how and who will develop the distribution, power distribution on the roadsides? We as road authorities, or will it be market-driven? Both, whether it's one or two, will affect very much on the land use and on infrastructure, which we normally do own. So there is something at least coming from that side. The other topic which I had was this autonomous driving. This picture is really awful, so that's why I'm not going to show it more, because the same can be shown like this. So when we are speaking about the different levels of automated driving, This list from level 0 to level 5 has been developed by a Society of Automotive Engineers, and at the moment one can say that the best cars available which are for sale are already at least on level 2. Tesla can be said it's already on level 3. My question with the automated cars is, how does this development affect the infrastructure and roads? If we look at the connected autonomous vehicles, CAVs, already on that level 3 and 5, vehicles discuss with each other. They exchange information. Information of things is already ongoing. And they also discuss with the road. But does our road discuss with those cars? Yet. Not in many cases. Also, these level 3 to 5 cars are fitted very much with lots of sensors and cameras and so on. And the target of those sensors, as well as cameras, is traffic in general, other automotives or cars especially, but also the condition of the infrastructure. Most of you have seen this picture many times before. Google car and sunshine. Google has been testing autonomous or automated cars already for ages, and they have been driving millions of test kilometers with this kind of cars. But in sunshine, on a paved road, with good markings at the sides, and we know that the reality on the roadside is like this. There's winter, there's rain, there's fog, there's gravel roads. Google car can't do in these kind of conditions. But is this only Baltic or Nordic problem with the snow? Nope. US is the biggest market for cars. And in US market, for sure, also the automated cars will be sold mostly in the future. 70% of the US is snow-covered, at least short periods of time per year. And 70% of the US drivers live in this area. So it means that 70% of the US car buyers are living in this area. As you see from this, winter is problematic for US drivers already. What about if the car is autonomous? This map shows, by the way, the snowy road network in US. I was, to be honest, myself at least, rather astonished to see how big the coverage is. Connected automated vehicles must be reliable, working 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days, whatever is the condition, i.e. in all conditions. If we look at Europe, same situation. 70% of this is snow-covered at least some days of the year, some areas even longer, at least here in the north. But not only in the north. We have lots of mountain areas in Europe, and the snow coverage, for instance, there is staying longer. Again, I put out the question, how we, road authorities and professionals, can assist or adapt to needs of autonomous vehicles. Is this kind of hen and egg dilemma? Who actually has to adapt? Who should take the lead in this case? I support strongly the option number 2. But can we do something for assisting the development? Yes. This time, I don't have a question, I have a solution. We in Finnish Transport Authority have started this process, which is called Project Aurora. We are creating well-instrumented road and test ecosystem. And with this building of this test ecosystem bed, which we call Snowbox, is ready now in September, October, and actually the opening ceremony, where Terje Mo just promised to be one of the major speakers, will be in November. Thanks, Terje. The reason for that is that we are doing this in a very good and close cooperation with Norwegian authorities. We have 4 main test focuses, but for this discussion today, I would like to emphasize the number 3, intelligent infrastructure asset management. That is studying how is the road for the future, how is the road for the automated traffic. That's our issue today. So we have certain objectives for this in that area. Area conditions are very demanding because the test site is very far up in the north. But we are testing the road maintenance of the future. One thing which we have noticed already from the very beginning is the positioning. That is a key issue for all those tests, and position information is really a key issue for all road maintenance in the future and traffic management. Well, in that area, we are now just installing certain installations, and our GPS accuracy is there 1 centimeter. So where is the place, Aurora? Aurora is a test section, which we have this technology test section marked there with a blue, 10 kilometer or 9 kilometer long in the municipality of Muonio, at the armpit of Lady Finland, if you look at the map. 6 months a year there's winter. So that is an excellent area for this kind of testing. Through the area goes E8, coming from south and ending in Tromsø in Norway, and therefore we are in a very good and close cooperation with Norwegians. Where are we now? That you can hear on the afternoon session, 2/5 at 1600, ITS session. I'm just advertising it, and there you can also hear how you can, if you wish, how you can join the Aurora network and get more information about it. But according to the international specialists, this is the most technical and instrumented road in the world at the moment. So tests are starting, and first results we wait now for the beginning of 2018, and that will be mainly open data, so it's open for all of us to use. The third item which I had on the list was platoon driving. It's an infra development issue. It has been on the papers very much now during the last years. There has been certain test driving from different countries, from Germany, Sweden, Belgium to Holland. It's cutting energy or saving energy. It's secure, it's a safe system, it's fantastic from a business point of view. But if we look it from the road owner's point of view, tire wonder. There is no tire wonder at all with these platoon driving cars or automated cars. Routing is starting immediately when they start running. And when we have heavy vehicles on a row, you can easily understand what's happening. That photo here is taken from ITS Europe in France a couple of years ago. And you see even a light automated vehicle within a week running the same stretch already created major routing problem in that area. What will happen when we have heavy trucks in the future? So in this case, one really has to start discussion about the cost. Summarizing these 3 visions affecting on infrastructure. Before the cars fly, we road managers and different professionals, we have to at least look at these 3 new phenomena. And they come soon, remember it. They come sooner than we even think. They almost are here. And we have to look at the element from the road manager's point of view and start discussion how we share that cost with road users. But when the cars finally fly, we have no roads and we have no infra problems. My prediction is that this will start in 10-15 years. Sounds very short, but remember 10-15 years ago, there was no iPad, Nobody even was thinking about what is iPad. We didn't even know what is iPad. So things happen on this branch very quickly. And at the moment, first tests of flying cars already do take place. And there is in Arabian area, can't remember whether it was Dubai or exactly, a taxi service already in a test, one-seater taxi. Must be very fantastic to fly with it. So it's reality today. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick second, we'll see if we have one question. I promise people they can have a question. Does anybody have a question? Give me a wave. Give me a little sign. Somebody scratching their face, but not question. Exactly. Everything is absolutely clear. Thank you. Awesome. If you do happen to have a question for the next presenters, just go for it when I ask. Don't be shy, as the Estonians are. Anyway, okay, we're going to move right on. The next presentation is about fifth generation of roads. I did miss out the first four, but we'll find out now. We're going to have the Secretary General of FERL. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but Mr. Terry Kroger, if you would please.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much to the organizer for inviting me today. It's a great pleasure to indeed present you some insight into the future of the road research, and more than that, how to integrate road into a very systematic transport system. Well, FERL instead gather a number of research centers, and we do focus on research infrastructures. We do have more or less all the research centers, the main research centers from all Europe. We miss at the moment Estonia, but we do hope that this is going to be solved very soon from now. Anyway, we have a strong cooperation in the east part of Europe. Currently, the executive president is from Lithuania, and I'm very happy to have that. We have also a strong cooperation with Latvia, and we are very happy to have this cooperation at the moment. So this is something very important to stress, and again, we do hope that Estonia will join very soon. I also want to stress that this is not only European. We do have also cooperation with non-European members, especially from the US, from Australia, from South Africa, and much closer to Europe from Israel. Well, the main job of FERL is to gather the activities within research. So as I said earlier, this is really our core business, R&D, but we do not do research for research. We do try to foster more and more innovation. That's the reason why we have a lot of cooperation with the industry. FERL is a member of a number of organizations and cooperate with technology platforms such as AirTrack, such as ECTP in Brussels, and other on more asphalt level. But this is not all. We do want to make the research results implemented, and that's why we have now strong cooperation with the road authorities. We have in particular an MOU with CEDAR, and that's something that is very much valued. We also have the great chance to have relation with PARC. Currently, the president of PARC is from BRC, which is our Belgian member, so this is also something very important for us at the moment. And obviously, we do have a strong cooperation with the European Commission, which facilitate in a way by the policy framework. Four main core business within FERL. One is to develop strategic vision for the future. That's really something that we do very much. But obviously, we do try to voice also for transport research, especially for transport infrastructure. Our main core business is nonetheless supportive the cooperative research between our members and with non-FERL members, especially with the industry. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, is not to keep the research results in papers covered by dust, but we're trying to implement it on the road. Well, as I said earlier, we are going to talk about the 5th generation of road. We started indeed a long time ago with the bridge. We ended up later on with a paved road, before coming to the smooth road, and finally, more or less the road as we know at the moment, the smooth roads and motorways. Well, we are now in the phase that we need to go towards a new generation, and that's what we call the 5th generation of road, that I'm going to talk a little bit more. But not only that, this is also something that we do value, is to integrate the road into a very good system of transport. And that's also what I would like to bring you as a few, as some information. Well, the next generation of road will be based on 3 main concepts. The first one is adaptable, second one automated, the last one is resilient. What do we mean by that? Adaptable is basically fit to purpose, with, for us in Europe, a strong focus on maintenance and upgrade. So how to make this maintenance, operation and upgrade of the road network which we fit to purpose. The second one is about automated road. In other words, bringing all the sensors in the road to know the condition of the road at any time. But also, in reference to the previous speaker, how to make the road infrastructure enabling the deployment of automated driving vehicle. The last one about resilience. We had some pictures before with snow. This was mostly shown for the north of Europe, but this can happen now a bit everywhere. And that's something that we also have to take care, how to make the infrastructure basically forever open. And that's something that we do want to have in the future. There is a large number of research already implemented, let's say, in the pipeline. And not only, on the R&D level, but some is already quite advanced. For instance, this is prefabricated slab, which enable, to be very easily and very quickly well positioned. So very fast maintenance. We also have some other, let's say, innovation, which is coming from the Netherlands, with roll on the road, or the road on the roll, sorry. And this is something which is already, I would say, existing and ready for implementation. Well, some other concept that might be more new, electrification, for instance, which is also another issue. This is something that is also currently very well developed. There's been already one implementation demonstration in the US. Another one is happening also in Sweden. And there will be, I think, great result for that. I think the main issue there will be the governance and how we can make sure that the truck can go from a country to another. Well, obviously, harvesting energy will be one of the next issue. There are a number of, well, I would say, ready products that are ready to be implemented. For instance, the solar road, a number of solar panels to be replacing the pavement. But I would say some probably other very quick win. Solar panel to be disposed along the side of the highway. There is a lot of space available for that, and probably more ability to capture that. The same goes for the wind road, not only for the big turbine that we mentioned, but there are a number of development of micro turbines that can be put in many, many places, including in buildings. And that's something that we are also developing, and we do believe that this has a great impact. Finally, as I said earlier, the adaptability of the road is also very much on the maintenance, and how to decrease the maintenance is also one important aspect. In other words, how to make the road more and more durable, how to make the road self-maintaining itself, self-cleaning, self-healing. That's a lot of things that we are doing in the asphalt, but also in the concrete, and that's something that we do believe will have a great impact. And this is also linked to the robotization of the maintenance. Well, I talked a bit for the road. I know that I have only 15 minutes, and what I also would like to know, to let you know, is road is very important. We are in a road conference, but we do believe that the road also has to be very much integrated into the transport network. And that's something that I'd like to give you also as insight for today. This is something that we started to work within FERL for a few years. We tried to work in collaboration with different other transport modes. This has resulted into some activities also within the work program funded by Horizon 2020 by the Commission. And at the moment, I must say that there has been, maybe by force, I would say, via the Commission, but there's been now a good awareness and a willingness to cooperate between the different modes of transport. There is at the moment a very strategic project called CETRIS, which gather all the technology platform from all the different modes of transport, from Akari, which is the air mode, AirTrack, which is the road, AirRag, the rail, Waterborne, the waterborne by default, and also Alice, which is a new technology platform dealing with logistics. And this one, they have now agreed to work together to define the next vision for the transport system. A vision which, in a way, try to bring the modes together, but also bridging the gap between the passenger and the freight, the urban, rural, and peri-urban, and finally transport and land use. That's something which looks also at the supply, but also at the demand side, technology and behavior, and finally vehicle and infrastructure. In that context, the Commission also supported 3 other projects only focused on infrastructure. 2 of them are led by FERL, and another one where FERL is also very much involved with many of the FERL members. And this vision aims at showing what will be the very key innovation in the next 20 years and where we should foster our effort in terms of R&D, but also where we should also put effort into implementation and also investment for this implementation and this innovation. We have tried to cover within these 3 projects, and especially within this vision of, let's say, 4x4 forever transport infrastructure on construction, but obviously very much maintenance, inspection, and recycling and reuse. We also did cover some user information aspect, energy and carbon, security and safety. And the key word of this vision is about transferability of solutions. So in other words, trying to bring the market with much more opportunities, trying to make sure that when we develop a solution maybe for the road, this solution may also be useful for the other mode of transport and vice versa. So what we have really done is trying to look at what will be the key innovation for the future that can also be transferred into other mode of transport. I'm not going to give you too much detail about that. There will be a dedicated presentation tomorrow around 11 o'clock, but this is something that I want to give you as an awareness. At the moment, we have looked at all the solutions possible, and we try to cover all the mode of transport, including some solutions which are available, multimodal, and not only technological solution or very focused on infrastructure, but a lot also regarding governance and customer, which is something that is more and more an issue. And coming from engineering more background, that's something which is more and more demanded now. We also did have a look at long distance corridor, which is something of great importance for the road authorities, but also urban mobility, multimodal hub, and system level. This has not been only a pure R&D. We looked at solution with indeed need for R&D, but some other which are more the demonstration level, some which are really at the level of being implemented, and some which are already existing but needs to find the necessary transfer. At the end, we have about 100 solutions that could be very useful for most of you probably to look at, and I do invite you to come tomorrow. So as a summary, I'd like to say that the future of the road transport is definitely with these 3 pillars: adaptability, fitting to purpose, automated, and resilience. And for that, we need a lot of research for the road only. This is very important, but this also is not enough. This also needs research for cross-modality, multimodality. And we are very pleased to see that in many countries, at least in several of them, and the previous presentation from Finland show that road authorities are now integrated into more transport authorities. And we do believe that this is most likely the future, and this is something that we want to bring forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. We'll see if we have any questions. Does anybody have any question? Give us a little sign. Seems like everything is clear to everybody, or they're just too shy. You never know. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. The next title, at least the beginning of the title of the presentation, says Young and Mobile, as we all are, right? The presenter is Marketing and Communication Director, Road Safety Analysis, UK, I believe. It's Dan Camshall.
Thanks very much. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and want to just express my thanks to the organisers for inviting me to come and present to you. We've just had a couple of really fascinating presentations around the future of vehicles and the future of infrastructure. So my challenge is to kind of talk a little bit about the future of the road users themselves, because for those of you who are thinking in a safe systems worldview, you will be thinking about the integration of safe road users within that infrastructure base. My name's Dan Campsell. I'm one of the founders of an organisation called Road Safety Analysis. We are based in the UK. I used to work within a road authority, and then after the credit crunch and the UK public sector shrank a little, we found ourselves looking to find a new path within the road safety space, and myself and colleagues created Road Safety Analysis to basically further some of our research and investment into digital platforms and customer insights for road safety work. And what I want to talk about is young and mobile, thinking about those future road users, thinking about young drivers who are going to be taking to our roads. It's a problem in many of our sort of developed countries, especially those that have got a developed transport infrastructure, that young drivers rank quite highly amongst our road traffic fatalities and serious injuries. It's certainly been a significant problem for us in the UK, but as I look at the international data, it's a problem in many other places as well. So you go to Google, at least if you do a google.co.uk search, for images of young drivers, and these are some of the images that you will find. They seem to indicate a view that young drivers' behavior is generally pretty disruptive and unhelpful and nefarious. You read some of the news headlines that we get in our national press, 4 times more likely to be killed or seriously injured compared with car drivers aged 25 and over, and 18% of all car drivers involved in reported injury crashes, but only 5% of the traffic. So there's a problem there. We've got something that we need to address from a road safety perspective on our roads. And I also want to just sort of highlight the mobile phone issue. So we've got the young driver issue, but we've also got this mobile phone issue. This isn't a problem solely for the UK. We find that around about 5 to 6% of our most serious injury crashes involve reporting of mobile phone use. That's probably understated, probably underreported, especially when we know that around about 30% of drivers say that they do use a handheld mobile phone whilst at the wheel. So how do we address that road user behavior? What do we do to get through and to seek to change it? Well, history of certainly the last 50 years or so of campaigning and behavior change process in our market has focused on threat appeal above everything else. So if only the road user understood the serious consequences of the behavior with which they are engaged, they will change, won't they? And that led Hextra and Wegman in 2011 to conclude, judging by the number of road safety campaigns that make use of fear appeals, there is a firm belief in the ability to scare people straight. So I'm going to ask you a question. How many things do you do that you know might be harmful to you? How many of you would put your hand up? It might be your alcohol consumption. It might be your diet. It might be the fact that you smoke. You know what the consequences are, but you still chance it anyway. Is that anyone else in this room? There's a few of you who are willing to admit it. I am one of those. Okay, the fact is that whilst we may know what is in our best interests, the way in which we behave is much, much more complex than that. So when we look at young people, we've done quite a lot of qualitative and quantitative research into young driver attitudes. We found that 80% regard those who speed as being dangerous. We found that only less than 6% were willing to use a mobile phone or to make calls whilst driving. That only 1.8% reported any kind of clear willingness to drink alcohol and get behind the wheel of a car. Only 3% reported an ongoing willingness to get into a car where they felt unsafe. 90% thought that people who stuck to the speed limit were responsible, and only 5% reported a willingness to not wear their seatbelt. That's from the young drivers. That's not from a more mature driving audience. That's from the people who we identified as being some of the highest risk users of our road network. So what's going on here? How do we engage with them and how do we change that? So one of the things that we've been looking at is whether there's more that we can learn about the behavioral science. How can we apply some learning, especially from other health behaviors, into the road safety context? So I want to introduce you to a behavioral model. It's called the prototype willingness model. If any of you have looked at any sort of driver psychology, you may be familiar with some of these models, but I'll explain a little bit about it. The reason that it's different is because it's a dual process model. So what I described about our intended behavior is sort of the reasoned path across the top. So we have a perception of our own vulnerability, and so therefore that informs our behavioral intentions, what we intend to do when we get behind the wheel. But there's also a reactive path within this model that basically says that we have something called behavioral willingness. It's informed by our view of the behavior of others, but what might we choose to do should the complex social circumstances that we find ourselves in dictate that a different behavior might be preferable to us? So let me just explain that in a little bit more detail. I'm going to introduce you to three characters who are on a night out. Take it completely out of the road safety context. Imagine that this is about propensity to get stuck into a fight on a night out. I've got three characters to introduce you to: the walker, the intender, and the willing. The intender is the one who, quite frankly, wants a fight on a night out. That's the way to finish a good night out, sink a few beers, and then get yourself into a bit of a brawl. You've also got the walker, the one who actually has absolutely no intention whatsoever of getting embroiled in any trouble. But the third character is the willing. What might unfold on that night out? It might depend on the amount that they've drunk. It would certainly depend on the behavior of their peers. It might depend on where they find themselves. The whole complexity of that social setting will inform whether they choose to walk or get involved. And what we're trying to do is to recognize that actually the complex cognitive processes in the young driver mean that many are willing to engage in behaviors that they otherwise identify they would not choose to engage themselves with. So what are we doing about that? Well, within our organization, we've sort of developed a bit of an approach to looking at intervention design. What we do is we start from the left-hand side of my screen with developing the evidence base. We use the road casualty data. We've built some quite substantive and sophisticated data analytics platforms that allow us to interrogate that data and also mix it up with third-party customer insight data, the way that sophisticated marketeers would within the commercial sector, big supermarkets, motor manufacturers, etc. And then we layer on top of that what we get from the research evidence in order to build our evidence base. We also then use behavior change theory, and quite frankly, we have to draw on a huge body of that from other disciplines. It's other health behaviors, it's things like smoking cessation, obesity control, alcohol and drug misuse control, that sort of thing. And then we develop a program of engagement at a pilot phase, and evaluation is written through everything that we do. Now, in the UK, we have the advantage, University College London, in our capital city, has developed an awful lot of thinking around behavior change processes and behavior change techniques. They've created the Centre for Behavior Change there, and we've drawn extensively actually on their work in a number of other fields. And when we looked at designing an intervention, designing a program for these young drivers, we used their taxonomy of behavior change techniques. So a number of the techniques that are identifiable from the research literature as being able to influence behavior within our target audience. And we look to code those and not just decide to do something, as we saw in many road safety campaigns, that threatens them or gives them a sort of fear message, but how do we work with them more constructively? So we created an intervention. We designed it working with a mixture of actors from the public sector, from the charity sector, and also from the commercial sector. So we've got insurance companies, car maintenance companies. We work with one of our largest football clubs in the region. They actually provide us with a venue, which is very appealing for young drivers and pre-drivers to come into. And we created a day-long experience for them to engage with. That experience almost does not talk about safety as a goal, because we know that they get turned off by the whole idea of safety, and we know that they've already got some very safe intentions underpinning it. So we talk about being responsible road users, being the best road users that they could possibly be. We give them some time behind a wheel, but we also give them a number of other exercises that help this whole kind of cognitive processing and get them to think about the ways in which their own behavior might need to change. So what I want to do is just present to you a couple of the results from that program and tell you where we're going next. So the results all relate back to that behavioral model that I showed you before. So we want to change their social norms. We know that social norms are a predictor of behavior. The way in which we, together, think that normal people behave informs the way that we behave. If we think everyone else sticks to the limit and that we would be the exception if we were driving over the limit, that will regulate our behavior. So we looked at the social norms in terms of mobile phone use behind the wheel. We did a pre and post analysis, and we had more than halved their perception of the proportion of drivers who are using a mobile phone at the wheel, likely to be an important part of influencing their behavior. We looked at their sense of vulnerability as a driver and whether they felt that they were at risk of being collision involved. We know that there is a challenge within the young driver market because, and it's all to do with frontal lobe development of the brain, that they haven't necessarily managed to assess risk tremendously well. And therefore, their perceptions of vulnerability tends to be lower than others in the population. And what we identified was that actually their perception of vulnerability, if they tried to take on the dual tasks of controlling a mobile device and controlling a vehicle, increased. The histograms on these charts, by the way, simply show us that we've got a near normal distribution. So it's not just that we've skewed the attitudes or intentions or behavior of a small cohort. This is working across the group that we have worked with. We also showed that we were able to change their behavioral willingness, that they reflected that they were less willing to utilize mobile devices in the car should the opportunity arise, and even the social circumstances seem to dictate it. We also put those results against a comparison group because we didn't just want to see what we were doing within the cohort, but we wanted to see whether we were influencing their behavior differently to other more kind of classically defined interventions. And what we found was that the results significantly outstripped other road safety interventions, or certainly the other road safety intervention that we put it up against, which actually was still a young driver experience, but leaned heavily on this process of threatening and giving them a fear experience. So what have we learned? We've learned that it's possible to shift social norms, to improve them through taking a more scientific approach to engaging with these young drivers. We've shown that we can increase their sense of vulnerability behind the wheel should we choose a similar approach, and we can also reduce their behavioral willingness. Those are measurable changes in risk factors. The question is, what does that mean for collision involvement? We don't yet know. But fortunately, there is a significant experiment that is just launching in the UK. We are part of it. We are actually taking on the design of an education intervention for our Department for Transport. We're going to be reducing the threat appeal approach so that we're not focusing on fear. We're trying to examine what the right dosage is, how much time do we need with them to get the message through. And we're going to invest heavily in interactivity and technology in order to answer the question, will they reduce their crashes post-test? So thank you very much. That's my perspective on young and mobile and what happens with young drivers.
Thank you. Do we have a question? Everybody seems to be very clear. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on. The next presentation is about license plates, I believe, and I will find out what are RFID license plates. We have the Market Development Manager, Mr. Andreas Haak, if you would be so kind and make your way up here. Here we go. Awesome.
I am one of the smaller guys. So, tere to everyone. First of all, thank you to the Baltic Road Association for having me here. And thank you very much to Yuri Ratas, who said in his welcome speech that we need to gain trust into e-services and into intelligent transport systems. And that's actually what I am referring to in my presentation today, into a smart license plate. First of all, I want you to show what RFID is, because I think not everybody here knows what RFID is. So, we have an RFID-based license plate. It's a chip integrated into a license plate. It's battery-free. It's you can identify and verify the license plate in a field of 15 meters, and you do not need to maintain this license plates or the system of the license plate. We have an RFID reader and an RFID antenna, which are giving energy to the license plate, and the license plate transfers the energy and gives back data. So, what are the main features or security features of this RFID-based license plate? First of all, it's a passive, so battery-free UHF RFID tag, which means in this field we have a completely integral part of the license plate, which is the RFID plate. So it means if you break the plate, you will also break, or if you try to get out the RFID chip, you will break it, so it will be invalid. Another big point is that we have a unique number, a factory locked number, which is unique on the whole world, which cannot be copied, cannot be cloned, because this particular technology I'm referring to is safe or saved with a IES 128-bit authentication. Also, we have cryptographic authentication levels from low to high, and where we can adjust on our needs what we want to do with this license plate. Also, you can use it with every license plate, so all the regulations for a normal license plate will be held, and we can use our new license plates. So in the next, I will show you a small demonstration video. I hope this will work. Technique.
More and more vehicles are using our roads. This results in increasing demands for reliable registration and detection systems, while automated traffic monitoring demands secure, unequivocal vehicle identification. One particularly convenient, reliable solution is the radio frequency identification plate called IDE plate, developed by Tallinn. IDE plate combines fraud-resistant identification technology with RAIN RFID chip technology. IDE plate is supplemented by IDE sticks, a holographic windshield sticker. Mobile and stationary readers can be used to retrieve and verify the data stored in IDE plate and IDE sticks, with readers, for example, at road bridges, or in future also implanted in the road. The IDE Trust software solution guarantees secure transfer of the encrypted data to authorized bodies. The RAIN RFID technology used in the systems operates with radio communication. It works regardless of the weather, and in contrast to conventional camera-based vehicle detection, it needs no visual contact. Unambiguous vehicle identification is therefore warranted in any case, even when vehicles are traveling in convoy, changing lane, or driving at high speeds of up to 250 km per hour. The use of IDE plate and IDE sticks enhances traffic safety and makes it harder to steal vehicles and number plates. Vehicle registration authorities and tax offices also benefit from reliable data and enhanced revenues. Precise detection of traffic flows is also indispensable for future-oriented infrastructure planning. IDE plate and IDE sticks, our solution for vehicle identification and verification to make the roads safer.
Yeah, this was a small video showing the technology. So I'm right now referring to the application you can do with this technology. So first of all, there is the gate solution or the barrier solution, with which you can automatically identify and verify vehicles. You can check automatically if there's a valid vehicle which wants to enter, for example, which can be done, or a small project we are running right now, that only valid taxis who pay taxi license can get to the airport. Also, what can be done easily is automatic entrance, exit, as well as paying at parking lots. Another application is the moving traffic real-time vehicle identification, where, as we already seen in the video, we can check the identification and the authentication of the vehicle in high speed. And this offers us a solution where we can do speed checks, where we can do blacklist checks. So if there's someone stolen a car and someone called the police, it's easy for us to blacklist this car in our system, and then the next time it drives by one of the reading stations, it can be caught out by the police. Also, another big point is the traffic management. What do we do with this data? So we have a smart traffic stream control, which offers us a real-time traffic data. And we can work with this data, and we can use it, and we can give advices to other drivers and say, okay, don't use this road. I think we all knew the systems. We can automatically detect traffic jams and heavy traffic. Also, we have smart traffic planning, and therefore we can see what are the most used roads, where is the next maintenance circle, for example, we need to implement. And of course, we have a broad traffic data through availability of car-related and personal information. Then another solution we can offer, or this technology offers, is the control of stationary traffic. We can use handheld devices to use or to check the vehicles and to check if they might be blacklisted. We can easily recognize if they are stolen, and we can offer, or we can put tickets to the fine tickets with minimal human operation, because these devices automatically record the vehicle, the date, the time, as well as the position. So this is very much a pretty fine and cost-effective solution for tracking, tracing. Yeah. So what's RFID added value we have to normal license plate? First of all, of course, we have the reading at a distance point. So unlike the other systems, if we talk about normal license plates, we have a secure license plate when there is a hologram in it or something special on it. But if it's drive-by, you can easily quantify it. With the RFID technology, since it is electronically checked, it cannot be quantified that easy. Also, we have a big advantage towards other systems, is the reading in adverse weather conditions, meaning if there's rain, fog, dirt, anything, we can read it electronically. It's no problem. And then, as already explained, the counterfeit protection. So since it is a really highly secure and highly technological product, it is very hard to clone or counterfeit this product. And also it is identifying with reliable data. So when talking about reliable data, we always have the problem that if you want to quantify a product, you can easily do that, especially while talking about license plate. For example, if we have an E and we just put a white paper on it, we can easily make an F out of it. Also a big problem with cameras, for example, if there's some dirt on it, maybe sometimes it will not show you an 8, and there's an 8 on the license plate, but it will tell you it's in B. So again, there's a problem. No problem with our system, since this is really having a modernized, and this is the next point, modernized system. Yeah, and you can use it in flowing traffic, so you don't need to stop a car to check if the license plate is valid, because you can check it while it drives by. And also it added, as already explained, some additional use cases we can use it. As already explained, there's law enforcement, like speed control, like running red lights, but also you can check expired registration and expired technical expectation, and you can also use it for toll collection. So at the end of the day, this will lead us to the benefits of RFID technology, and overall, let's say we increase road safety by reducing the number of non-registered and non-insured vehicles. We increase road safety due to reliable and traceable vehicle inspection systems. We ensure public revenues due to higher rate of registered and insured vehicles, and also higher rate of paid traffic fines. We increase efficiency of working processes due to a computerized and modern system. And we always do have a real-time database which offers us population of cars, which offers us fully traceable electronic data and anytime reporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any question about these cool license plates? Oh, we do have. Yes, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a question. There we go, this way. Can you wave your hand once again? If you could identify yourself and then present the question. Thank you.
Even I do not have RFID, I can identify myself. My name is Andrzej Maciejewski. I work for UNEC 10 project. And I have one question. Could you please say why this kind of onboard unit, which is your solution, I think, is better than different OBUs? Because at the end of the day, I think you're not competing with the regular registration plates, but you are competing with the other OBUs, which are just collecting data or giving the information to the databases for the traffic management centers or infrastructure operators.
You are right now talking about two different things. There's this onboard units, which we are not trying to bring in.
But
onboard
I think
units
you are.
No. Onboard units are like units you have to put on your own into the vehicle. We are talking about license plates, and license plates are governmental owned documents.
But
And that's the main difference.
So from my perspective, you just want government to make it mandatory to use that kind of OBU for everyone. Because at the end of the day, looking from the perspective of services, which may be delivered within that solution, these are just regular ITS services we can have also with other technologies. That's why the question is, why it should be so interesting to use that technology and that solution when we have a number of solutions for a number of ITS services and mobility services which might be delivered in a different way, especially when we are talking about the 5G roads, and in a moment we will speak about 5G internet, then maybe RFID will be sufficient for the number of services, but internet for other services. So what's the difference you see?
Yeah, first of all, when talking about onboard units, we always or mainly talk about active RFID. Active RFID is always with a battery, and at some stage it runs low, and sometimes it needs maintenance. Our system refers to UHF, passive technology, which refers there's no maintenance, so the government can own it. And we are just preparing the government to have their own system, to use their responsibilities, not to have a private company behind it who will collect data, who will sell data. We are talking about the government. It is a government system, a governmental product, and is governmentally owned. That's what I'm referring to. I don't want to compete with V2X or something communication. I don't want to get into the private market. Our vision, or the vision of RFID license plate, are to have a governmental owned product, which a license plate is, and which refers to governmental standards, which the government decides, and that's the technology we are offering. Governmental, not private-owned one.
Thank you for that clarification, because it leads us also to the discussion about the responsibility of government for data management at the end of the day.
Yes, of course. It always leads us to the... when talking about government and data, we always need to talk about private protection issues and everything, but that's a governmental issue we need to discuss, and that's why I am so happy that Yuri Ratas said we need to gain trust into e-services, and we need to gain trust into ITS, because we need all of us to see our advantages into the system to help it to come through, to help us easify any governmental application.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andres. I realize there is another question. We have to move on because of the time, but maybe on the coffee break, on the lunch break, we can identify the gentleman back there. Maybe you can give us a wave. He has a question, so I let you guys to communicate during the lunch and during the breaks. Otherwise, we do have to move on, but thank you for the questions. Finally, I had at least one question. Thank you, Andres. We do appreciate it. We're going to move right on. Looking at the title of the next presentation, I realize me and the next presentation have something common. For instance, I have a self-healing skin. Come to find out, somebody from Netherlands, not somebody actually, we have Dr. Erik Schlagnen, who knows everything about self-healing asphalt. Is that true? Do we actually have something like that? Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Also thanking to the organizers for having me here to give this presentation about our work on self-healing materials. Self-healing materials is something for the last 10 years So in all kind of areas, they are developing materials that repair themselves. I'm from Delft University, working in the microlab. It's a lab where we do inventions on building materials. We also developed a self-healing concrete, where you saw already a picture of that at Dr. Gauger's presentation, where we use bacteria to repair concrete. But now I'm going to talk about self-healing asphalt. And we're doing that development with a lot of students, postdocs, PhD students. 2 of them I put here also on the presentation, Shishu and Martin Magella. And together with them, I'm also building up a company now called Epion to bring self-healing asphalt to the market. So my presentation, I will first discuss the problem that we have with asphalt that we want to solve. I will have 2 solutions for you, and then I will tell a little bit about the future. So go to the problem. Asphalt, it gets damaged in time. It's a material that ages, and of course this aging we want to fight. Especially potholes that we get, we want to fight them, because potholes is something we would like to stop. We don't like them, and I also saw that you have a lot of them here in Estonia. So it's not only in the Netherlands where we have them, but they are actually all over the world. And potholes are not nice to drive on, because they also ruin your pizza. If they come and deliver it, and the pizza driver is going through a pothole, then you will get a pizza like this, that it's sticking to the box. So what we want to do is heal our asphalt. We can use a plaster as shown here, but we develop some more interesting techniques that work better. Well, in the Netherlands, a lot of our road surfaces are covered with zoap, which is a very porous asphalt. So most of the highways have this as top layer. Because it's a very good asphalt, of course, it's draining water. That's what we use it for. And it's also absorbing noise. So that's why it's a very good road to drive on. But the durability of this pavement, of this top layer, is not that good, because every benefit comes with something which is negative. So the driving conditions are perfect, but we have a mechanism in this asphalt that is called raveling. So this mechanism also happens in dense asphalt roads, but especially in these porous asphalt roads, we have a lot of raveling, which means the stones coming off of the surface. And this we want to prevent. So for that, we developed a self-healing technology, which can be applied on all asphalt surfaces, actually. So raveling in this porous asphalt means that you have only a small amount of binder between your aggregates, as you see in this picture, and this binder will age, especially due to oxidation, UV light. This small layer of bitumen will become hard, it will become brittle, it will shrink, get micro cracks, and then delaminate from the aggregates. So that's the system that causes raveling. So as I say, sunlight, and especially the UV light of the sun, together with some rain and maybe some snow, especially here, some loading on it, then you will get raveling. So it starts with some small stones coming off of the surface, as you see here, especially in curves, you have this problem. But then it leads to potholes. And this is what we want to prevent. These potholes we don't like. And in Canada, actually, they say they don't have potholes. So they use stickers to slow down the traffic. So they put those stickers showing a pothole to slow down the traffic. But of course, in other countries, like also in the Netherlands, they use the 3D technique. They make the real pothole to slow the traffic down. But actually, we don't want these potholes. So what is the solution to overcome this? Now, the first solution that we came up with is very simple. So you have to use tools from the kitchen. So what we do is we use steel wool, these steel wool pads that you use to clean pans. So we cut them in small pieces and mix them through the asphalt. And then we use induction energy, an induction coil, to actually heat up the steel wool. So the induction coil, similar thing as you do with cooking. Such a coil, you can heat up the steel wool, hold the induction coil a little bit above the surface, heat up the steel wool. This will melt the bitumen, it will close the small cracks, and your stones stay where they are. Of course, you have to do this before the stones come off, because you cannot put the stones back. So you have to do this treatment just before the stones are driven out of your road. So if you have micro cracks in your system. So here you see the principle. So you have these fibers mixed into the asphalt. If you get a small crack in the system, you come with your induction coil, you heat up the material. So from the inside out, it heals up the steel wool. That will melt the bitumen and that will close the cracks. So here you see a sample that we put in a CT scanner to see the distribution of these very fine steel wool particles in the material. So it's very well distributed in the material. As I said, then we come with an induction coil. You hold above your sample. That creates actually a magnetic field. Then small eddy currents are going to flow in through these fibers. Then the fibers will heat up. Due to that eddy current, it will heat up the bitumen and close the cracks. So this is a test system that we use in the lab. So a small induction coil that we have there to test our samples, and then we check with infrared cameras what is happening to see how much the temperature increases. So actually we did a lot of tests on these materials. We did aging of the samples in the lab, damage them, heal them again, and then see what properties we get back afterwards. So this is actually an example of a 4-point bending fatigue test, where we plot on the vertical axis the flexural stiffness, and on the horizontal axis the amount of cycles that we do. And you see if you do the cycles, your stiffness will decrease if you do nothing. And if you stop the test here, heat up the sample, your stiffness will come back, and you can do this test over and over. So you damage the sample, heal it, and you can test it again. So we did this on normal samples, on age samples, and see what kind of differences we got and how it improved. Also the government, Rijkswaterstaat in the Netherlands, they saw what we are doing and they said, well, we have to try this out. So they gave us in 2010 already a test section, a part of a highway in the south of the Netherlands, where we could place 400 meters of asphalt and then test it over the years, heal it over the years, and also monitor it. So this was when we were placing the material in 2010. So it's normal asphalt pavement machines you need, normal mixing plant. Just add these steel wool fibers, small fragments to it, and mix it through. So then after 4 years, we thought this is the time we have to do the first treatment. That came out of our lab research. After 4 years, we went there with a small induction machine, a prototype that we built, to heat up the asphalt. So you go there with your induction coil, driving over the surface, just a few centimeters above the surface. This heats up the steel wool, which heats the bitumen, but you don't heat up the stones. That you also see in this infrared image, that your stones actually keep cold, which is good, because you don't want to heat up the stones. You don't want to put energy in there. And also the stones will cool down your asphalt as quick as possible. So it moves over, and 15 minutes later it's cold again, because that's what the stones do. So in this way you can close all micro cracks, all your stones are fixed again, and you can open the road and drive on. So here you see again, we also found a black hole when we were driving over the asphalt. So here you see the black hole. That was actually where we drilled some cores after we made the pavement, and that hole was filled with normal asphalt, without steel fibers. So you see already that you cannot heat up the asphalt when there are no steel fibers, because you heat up the steel and not the asphalt itself. So this was 3 years ago. We went there with our small induction machine, just a prototype, and we are now building with this small company, I said, we are building a big one that we can drive at a relatively higher speed, because the first one was just walking speed. We want to go somewhat faster with this big induction machine, heat up the road, and then see if that really works. So here are the facts. So you see a test track was built in 2010, 400 meters. It was healed in 2014. Condition this year, it's still in perfect condition, no raveling, all the stones are still there. And we think healing is needed every 3 or 4 years. Maybe if the asphalt ages, you have to go back faster. It's applied already on 12 other locations now in the Netherlands, on small roads, on industrial areas where you have heavy load traffic, on roundabouts, on at traffic lights, and at bridge joints it's also applied. Because bridge joints, they open and close very frequently, you get damage there, and with this system you can heal them very easily. And similar research is also being done in other countries, so it's really becoming popular now. There is also some problem with it, because your asphalt is actually still aging. So you don't prevent the aging of the material. So that's why you probably have to go back faster and faster when the material gets older. But to overcome this aging, we're working on a different approach, which is a capsule approach, where we actually put small capsules in the material with rejuvenator inside. So you can put rejuvenator later on the aged bitumen, but you can also put the capsules already inside your material. So the capsules contain the rejuvenator. If you get a crack again, this opens the capsule, rejuvenator comes out and then softens the binder and make it more flexible again. So this is also something we're working on. We made different capsules, bigger ones, millimeter size. We made very small ones. And now we are working on alginate capsules where the rejuvenator is inside, and these actually work quite nice because they survive the mixing, they survive the high temperatures, and they break when they are needed. And we also can put them in fibers so that you make fiber-like capsules with pockets of rejuvenator inside. So what is the future, what we are working on? Because also this capsule work is not perfect, because this diffusion of the rejuvenator is a quite slow process. Only if you increase the temperature, then it goes much faster. Then the diffusion of the rejuvenator in the aged material, rejuvenating it, is much faster. So what if we combine those two solutions? What if we combine the two healing techniques? So with the induction energy, we put the steel fibers in there, we put the capsules in there with rejuvenator, so we can heat up the road with the induction energy, heat up the fibers. This will melt the bitumen, close cracks, and also open the capsules with rejuvenator, which then rejuvenates the binder. Since the binder is warm, the diffusion goes very fast, and everything should be perfect after that. So that's what we are trying out now and in the lab, and that also shows very good results up to now. So combining the two techniques, that's the future. And we also want to think about really future roads, so also the forever open road. What if we combine these self-healing techniques, self-healing asphalt, with solar roads? So because we also need energy for the self-healing techniques. And we could even put the induction coil, which we now have externally, which we drive over the road. We could already put an induction coil in the road. Then you can use this induction coil for heating up the asphalt, but you can also use this induction coil to charge electrical vehicles. And if you do that with energy from the solar panels next to the road, you get a system that is working by its own. So that's how we think about the future, so to make roads in this way. And with that, I think I come to my conclusions, which says that self-healing is not just a hype. Maybe it started 10 years ago with a hype. People wanted to do research on it, but now it really works. It really works, but it needs input from different disciplines. So you have to combine different disciplines to get it working. So we work with asphalt people, but we also work with electrical engineers to optimize the induction coils and optimize this induction heating. So you have to combine different disciplines. If it works, you can also save a lot of money, because you need less repair work, less material use, less traffic jams you have, that is also good for the environment. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Very fascinating. Do we have a question? One question. We have front row question. Here we go. We get the mic.
Thank you. Really, really good presentation. Steve Phillips, Conference European Directors of Roads. You talked about self-healing, and I totally understand the concept. I'm just wondering, have you any thoughts, maybe now or in the future, of moving into the other aspects, such as we heard earlier about rutting. There's also questions of loss of skidding resistance. Is the thoughts about applying this technology or variations of this technology to reducing the other aspects of pavement damage?
Rotting, I don't know. So it works for raveling that we see, that you can self-healing, you can self-heal cracks, also at bridge joints. Rotting is maybe another problem, but what we also saw is if you add fibers to the material, it can handle much more strain. So the strain capacity is also much better, because also the fibers, although they are very thin steel wool fibers, it also works mechanically. So maybe that will help for the rotting. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Okay, yes. Now we're going to move on to the last presentation before we're going to go to the lunch. It's the future of delivery in smart cities. I think we're going to talk about robots there. Starship Technologies, representative from there, Christian Korjus, if you would, please.
Good afternoon. Very happy to be here. Hi. My name is Christian. I'm head of computer vision and perception. I'm making robots to be smart and intelligent. I'm going to talk about smart cities and how these robots could affect our lives and what are we trying to do. We saw a problem. The problem was quite simple. Lots of stuff is ordered online and delivered. Quite often it's on demand and local. You're delivering fast food or some electronics or flowers. And it is quite expensive, mainly because the salary of people is expensive. And on demand and local means that someone is doing it for you, only for you. And this is expensive, especially in London and Silicon Valley and so on. They do try to make it a bit cheaper, but then it becomes more inconvenient because they are putting many of the deliveries into one wave, and then there are these timing issues. If you order something in Estonia, in Tallinn, online, then they tell you that these 6 hours try to be at home. For me, it will be impossible. And these expectations are growing and growing, and it seems that more and more people are trying out more radical and extreme solutions for it. Our mission is very, very clear. We want to make the world most efficient on-demand local delivery. And how do you make most efficient things? You need to automate them. You need to build software. You need to build robots. That's what we are doing. And it's not anymore just an idea. The company was founded about 3 years ago. Now we are, I would say, one of the world's only company which is scaling up the production of self-driving machines in public spaces. At the moment, we already have 120 robots. They drive around in very many places. For example, our main markets at the moment are London, Hamburg in Germany, in America, 3 cities, Silicon Valley, for example, Washington, D.C., and also in Tallinn. And we do deliver packages to our business model, business to consumer, so we do deliver packages to our clients, and hundreds of them every day. And we are driving a lot for doing it. We meet lots of people. We get lots of data. It is a full-scale operation. I guess this is our, not I guess, I'm sure, this is our superstar. This is our main central piece. Without it, we couldn't do things. This is the self-driving machine. I'm going to say a couple of words about it, and then we will move on to the, how does it affect the city and how does everything work together. But first, our robot. So Legally, it's called personal delivery device in American English. So we are legal now in many states, and that's how we are called. We didn't invent this name. It was invented by lawyers. An important aspect, it's slow. It's like humans. It drives up to 6 kilometers per hour. This was important in European Union and in many other countries. If you are below 6 kilometers per hour, then you are not an actual machine that needs to be regulated too much. We have sensors. Of course, it's important. It must be self-driving. But crucially, it is the sensors are cheap. There are no expensive hardware there. We have 9 cameras, each camera like 10 euros per camera. We have 4 Doppler radars. We can detect speed. And we have ultrasonics for nearby detection of people and moving things around us. But it is crucial that we are trying to be extremely cheap in hardware. And in logistics, it is important because it is a low-margin business. You cannot serve or sell luxury service from point A to B. At least on demand and local, it doesn't work. It does know where it is. It must know the accuracy of its localization where it thinks it is about 2 centimeters. If you would be only doing it with GPS in cities where there are lots of buildings and things, it would be a couple of meters. We are doing it on our own with cameras. It is smart. It can start understand things, bicycles, traffic lights, curbstones, everything that is moving around, and so on. Another extremely crucial thing, like one was the low-cost hardware in my mind. The other very, very important thing is that we are not 100% self-driving. We are only, as engineers, solving to be 99% or 90% self-driving, which means that every time we only need to understand that something is difficult, and then we are giving a control to the human operator that solves the difficult situation over the internet. So all the complex, strange interactions with clients, for example, this can be still done via two-way audio and video connection, one-way video connection, two-way audio connection, and all the complex traffic situations, whenever a robot is lost, doesn't know what's going on, or whenever there is kind of occlusions or strange situation or too crappy weather, then humans can solve it over the internet. It's meant for small loads, 10 kilograms, but still it's like 3 bags of groceries. And I guess safety is one of our most important goals. The same is with self-driving cars and drones and so on. They do optimize the safety a lot. For us, the speed and the total weight makes it inherently safe in that sense that even if in full speed we would crash into you, you wouldn't almost feel anything. But on our last moments, it's possible to react and do something as well. Okay, it's a tiny overview. As I am an engineer, I'm going to give a couple of more technical slides as well, and then let's go back to the cities. So this is how I understand how the software of the robot works. Of course, it's way more complex. There are about 50 programs communicating with each other, but in simplified way, we need to know where to go or what's our plan. So we are doing the routing. That's interesting because we can, as we have robots, we know absolutely everything about any path that we have been. We know the average speed and we know how safe it is and so on. So we can plan the routing extremely cleverly because we have a huge amount of information. On top, you can see localization. From each of the cameras, we are seeing edges. So if you can see an edge somewhere, and then you move a bit and you see an edge on another place, then you can triangulate or understand where is this edge in 3-dimensional space. And this we are seeing hundreds and thousands of edges at every moment, and we use these most simple mathematical constructs to construct the world. And based on that, it's fast, efficient, and we can understand where we are. On down there is an example of a point cloud. So we use usual cameras. We don't have any fancy things, but they are, as human eyes are, just cameras, which makes it possible to construct the three-dimensional understanding of the world as well as stereo image. Again, it's very heavy on software. It's easier to iterate and develop software, and very low cost and simple in hardware, just usual cameras. And then later, if you know where you are, where you need to go, what's around you, then you're making decisions how to do it, whether you try to bypass, slow down, speed up, or whether things are getting out of hand, then you just stop, give control to the human operator, and humans are solving the most complex problems. We are driving a lot. One of the key was also to understand what is how society reacts to these people, to these robots, and how should we react to these people. Like, for example, I was afraid that maybe we will have problems with dogs. Wasn't the case. Not a single problem with a single dog. I don't know why. Problem with theft or vandalism? No. Problem came out of one problem that we are having at the moment, that we actually have a person dedicated to solving it, is children. Children tend to be curious, less restricted. They are going near it, patting it, and depending on how it reacts or doesn't react, sometimes they get more playful and more playful until they are too playful. But in general, people don't mind. They get used to it very quickly. In most of the cities, most of the places where we are, people are extremely welcoming, and it was way more positive than we ever were hoping or expected it to be. This system is not only about robots. It's also about automatic warehouses. For example, the robots are going home, then we can swap the batteries, we can swap the basket in it. We have all these technology as well as a integrated solution. One interesting thing that is driving around in Tallinn at the moment is the collaboration project with Mercedes-Benz. They're very eager to do it themselves, so they made this van. It hosts 8 robots and lots of packages, and at the moment it delivers stuff every day in Tallinn. And this is it. As an engineering-wise, it is really cool. It stops somewhere, some of the robots go off. It goes to another place, it stops, some of the robots go off. Then it goes to a third place, some robots go off, some come back on, and it keeps doing it in somewhere in the city. And robots can actually swap a van, and they can do everything. And this possibility to make it then efficient increases hugely, because we can do all these clever tricks in software to actually make it as efficiently and robustly as possible. And we are, at the moment, it is still in pilot phase, because it's not yet exactly known how we can start mass producing these vans, but we are delivering up to 40 packages already every day. All the packages are always to real clients, and it seems to work, and it is kind of makes it possible to get bigger distances and less populated areas as well, because our robots ourselves are quite slow. I already mentioned that we are legal. Everywhere we drive, the bottom bit there, everywhere we drive, we have local government's permit, so we have never been anywhere without permit. But we are now also legal in state-wise or in countries, whole countries, so that we can go to a random city and actually operate there. And it's in Estonia and 5 or 6, or how many we have, 6 now, states in America. And especially in America, regulatory framework is really simple. They don't have to invent all the laws. They will just make some kind of high-level law and then they will figure it out in court later, which makes it way easier than it is in European systems. But still, it's in progress in other countries as well, and it seems to be that politicians are hugely supportive. It's a kind of nice way how to promote themselves and technology and so on, and as the social acceptance is high as well, it has been way more easier than we initially planned. And it isn't just us, couple of hundred of crazy people trying out this vision of automating the on-demand local delivery. It's actually a full-blown industry already. Now we have about 10, 20 competitors who are actually trying to achieve something similar as we are trying to do. Of course, some machines, the down right one, they cost about €1 million compared to our one, which is 5,000, and some of them are maybe not that efficient yet, or some of them are crazy, but it is still an emerging market showing that there is interest, and all of these are actually well-funded companies already. So it seems that it is going that way, but we can be proud saying that we are industry leaders at that point. More about the cities as well. Like one thing is about building this self-driving thing, AI, if you wish, that kind of understands what's going on and understands the traffic and drives itself. But it does have a huge impact to cities, because you can scale technology. If it works with 10 robots, then you can build 10 million quite easily. And then it has an effect to cities. For us, it's way easier to avoid traffic jams. We know how we are located. We don't actually increase the usual traffic, but even on the sidewalks, we can always automatically share the load and reduce traffic jams. There is no pollution involved, zero emission, increased quality of life. This was kind of unexpected. It wasn't the aim for doing it, but it seems that people do believe it, as we are able to reduce the local delivery and on-demand local delivery, the price of it, which it becomes more affordable to more people, and usually people who need it the most, actually for them the price matters as well, like very old people or disabled people. It should have this kind of effect as well. And another thing that lots of smaller cities and local governments are really kind of happy or somehow supportive is the last point, that it seems that the online huge marketplaces like Amazon, they are killing local businesses. But if the on-demand local delivery would be way cheaper, what technology would allow, then it might support these businesses as well, doing their business better. There are these side things that should make the cities better and smarter. And the reduced pollution, it's not only pollution about CO2 emission, but also it's noise and visual pollution. We are small, quiet, without emission, and we do hope that it makes our environment a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Quite fascinating again. Oh, we do, okay, yes, right. While I let you ask a question, yes. Here we go, we have one question. And then we're gonna go to the lunch. I'll have a bit of information before we go to lunch, just a few minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Reija Viinanen, coming from Finnish Transport Agency. Very nice and sympathetic PPT pod, or what I should call it. So have you tested it already in snowy conditions? How does it react to the very challenging weather conditions or very challenging road conditions? Because we have probably the world's best place to test, and also we have last mile problems with our local products in our tourism center near the Lapland. So These are the main questions, and also thanks for the excellent presentation, because the audience was quite, there was any noise at all. They were staring at you.
Thank you. Yes, snow. Snow is not a problem at all. We have 6 wheels on the robot. All of them are turning wheels, rotating wheels. What's the word in English? So they are, it's not a problem. It works quite well. Of course, it must be in limits. Not that, but like this is completely okay. We are like most of the software development, at least, and hardware development is not about easy conditions. Getting the first thing correct is rather simple compared to all the edge cases. For example, I showed this TerraVision 2 cameras that are constructing the 3D point cloud. It must work with rain. It does work with rain, with drops there, with moisture, with fog, with sun blowing into the cameras, with exposure changes, with scratches, with bit loose cameras, and so on. So, and it is working with all these conditions. So we have been developing it with 50 engineers for 3 years already. It's not anymore that we are trying to just get it working somewhere. It is a full-blown operation, and it works with all the conditions. And so yes, it does work. At the moment, we are increasing the nighttime driving capability such that we could do it also at nighttime, because actually most of the hamburgers and pizzas are ordered when the sun goes down. But Finland definitely seems to be a good country. So yeah, see you there.
Thank you. I hope maybe Christian will hang around so you can ask some more questions here in a lunch session.
I'll be around.
I've seen the little guys walk, drive down the roads. I always wonder if I go same direction, can I sit on it and catch a free ride, if we go the same way?
In Estonian law, there is an extra sentence saying that we need to detect if someone sits on it, and then we need to stop.
If I have my own seat belt, it won't work, huh? Okay, sorry. Aitäh, thank you. We have been looking to the future quite a lot. I give you a couple of little details about the rest of the day. We're going to have a lunch in a few seconds. After that, we're going to have the parallel sessions. The one strategic road and transport planning and road financing will be in room B2. Then road construction and environment will be in room A1. Road maintenance will be in room A2. And road payments and materials will be in D hall, and I just learned this is the D hall where we are actually at the moment. Then after these first parallel sessions, we also will have the second coffee break. It's 3:30 till 4 o'clock. And after that, we have a second set of parallel sessions, which would be road safety, road payments and materials, bridges, intelligent transport systems. I'm not going to name these rooms at the moment. It might be too confusing. After that, we're going to have in the evening, 17:30, everything is done here. By 18:45, you need to get on the bus. There's going to be awesome concert in the St. Oleviste Church in the evening. And now all I can say is buen appetit, or like we say in Estonia, jätku leivale. The lunch is straight off the other side of the entrance. When you guys came in, the both first and the second floor. Head isu, buen appetit.